welcome to another episode over here of Askin Axelrod. So today our guest speaker is Mr. Joe Barone himself.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Of course. Thank you for being here today. So Joe is going to give us a little insight on his life and just some of your experiences that you've had. I know you're from New York. Is that correct?
I am.
Okay.
The Big Apple, the concrete jungle, whatever you want to call it.
There you go. That was like my backyard. I was born and raised in Connecticut, so I'm very familiar.
Where in Connecticut?
Watertown.
Oh, Watertown. Yeah, that's not too far from where I was. I was in Westchester where I was born and raised.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's not bad.
Yeah, so everyone, whenever anybody's like, oh, we're going to the city this weekend, you all automatically knew it was New York.
Absolutely.
When I say it down here, oh, I want to head to the city, they're like, which city? Charleston? Wilmington? Where are you going?
Yeah, no, city is the New York.
Exactly.
I actually lived in New York City for 3 years.
Beautiful. I love the city.
Beautiful there. Yeah,
I couldn't live there, but I love to go shopping there.
Oh, that's all I ever did. I mean, forget it. I mean, I bought and sold jewelry there.
Yep.
I was on 47th Street all the time.
See?
That's the Diamond District. You don't want to. You want to stay at that one, not where the other. There's a Chinese. It's like a different kind of. You don't want that one because they used to inject diamonds and stuff. But yeah, to make them shine. But that's an old story. But
You know all the stories,
Yes,
all
I
the
do.
inside scoop.
I do.
All right, Mr. Barone. So give us a little background. So born and raised in New York.
I'm born in Westchester, New York, called the town called New Rochelle. I grew up, I guess you would say I was a middle class, I guess. You know what I mean? My father and both my mother and father were beauticians.
Okay.
That's why I do my own hair too. I haven't been to a barber in 40 years.
Nice.
So, but I used to cut my friends' hairs too, just like my mother used to do for my friends too, and my father. But so they were together. But my father was he was in the mafia.
Okay.
After he got out of the hairdressing business, you got to remember in my town, there were certain ways you acted. So if you want to, this is the best way to put it. You're a product of your environment.
Yes.
Only a few people, like I guess guys may have heard of Dr. Ben Carson. Well, he grew up with like 7, 8 kids in a family, just a single mother, and then he became one of the first doctors to ever separate twins in the womb.
Wow.
So he was able to break out, I guess, from way his mother raised him or whatever the case may be. But my family, they wanted the best for me.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I didn't go that route. I could have been a postman, nice and retired, but no, I decided to be following my father's footsteps.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Now, my father used to be what they call a knockaround guy. Now,
All right. Tell us what that means for the viewers.
I was going to say, not too many people know that. That's an older saying. And you hear the term wise guy or gangster, but my father was a knockaround guy, which means more or less he was affiliated with gangsters, but he wasn't really over there with them. Yeah,
Okay.
not even as associate like myself at that time. He would go robbing tractor trailers, or like Macy's, the all the stuff be coming in Macy's in the front door, and he'd be taking the stuff out the back. And then he ran numbers and he loaned money. And he did scores like that, takedown scores like robberies and stuff like that.
Okay.
So then he got more affiliated with some other people, like my uncle Pat. I call him my uncle. He's really a distant cousin on my grandmother's side. My father's mother showed my father the ropes. Started with the gambling and the clubs, the card games, and all of that kind of stuff. And that's how my father got started. He was collecting money. That's how I got started too. So listen, I was a pothead when I was a kid. I was just living life. I was happy, this and that. But then I was 18 years old, and you know what happens when you're 18? You want to get a car. You got to impress the girls.
Yeah.
You want to be this and that. You know what I mean? So I had $1,000 saved up. Okay. So my father says, "Oh, you want that money?" Sorry about my stomach. So he says, "You want that money to make money for you?" I said, "Yeah, but Dad, I want a car." He says, "Give me the money." So he took the money, and now I'm starting to make $300 a week. I said, "What's going on?" So now he told me. Now he taught me how to loan shark. The loan sharking is like a loan from the bank,
Okay.
except the interest rates could vary. And we don't send you a note to tell you you're running late with the payment. We come and collect it.
And collecting, meaning what?
Well, if you don't have the money, you probably catch a beating.
Okay.
Which, a beat down, or, I'll smack you around, or I could hurt you, depending on how severe and how much money you owed, or, what was your excuse. Because I used to have a book about how many excuses. Oh, the dog ate it. My wife left me. this, that, all these crazy excuses. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I got smart. A friend of mine, Frank Salerno, his uncle was Mike Salerno, who was a gangster in the Lucchese crime family. So, and my father was with the Genovese family.
Okay.
Later on, I was with the Bonanno crime family. So there's 5 families in the life. There's the Gambino, Colombo, Lucchese, Genovese, and Bonanno family in New York City.
Okay. All
So,
Italian,
All,
obviously.
you have to be. Yeah, you have to be. It's just like a kind of a rule, you know?
Yep.
So, I got smart. Frank told me, he says, listen, he says, you know what happens? They give you a promissory note, means you owe them, they owe you the money.
Right.
But if they don't have it, you don't collect it. So he taught me, from now on, if I want to loan you 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever it may, 100,000, you got to give me something double than what it's worth, and I leave you. This way, if you don't pay me, guess what? I don't have to breach up anymore. I just go cash in whatever you gave me, diamonds, jewelry, cars, your house. I know a guy that owns 5 houses from giving people loans of 100,000, 150,000. They couldn't pay, and he was legally taking the houses.
That's insane.
So don't the banks do it?
They're signing a collateral.
Yep.
Basically, that's what it is.
Well, where we are now too is you can charge up to 300% interest. It's legal, and that's the whole thing. He did it legally, so I started getting smart too. A guy wanted to borrow 3,000 from me. I said, sure, no problem. You got anything to put up? Oh, what about? Well, what do you want from me? What happens? You don't work and you got hurt on the job. What about me? You're not worried about me, but I'm good enough to give you the money, but now I'm not good enough for you to watch my back. So I took him to the jewelry store. He bring jewelry, and the guy says, "Yeah, I can give you about 7,000 for this." I says, "Okay, how about a month from now? Would you give me 7,000?" Then he says, "Because it's you, Joey. Sometimes they call me. I'll do it." I said, "Okay." So I says, "Okay, then I'll give you the money." And then he was okay with it.
Okay.
So those are the kind of things I used to do. Or, like I said, I had to beat people up sometimes too.
Okay.
And I hung around with about 30 guys, so I was ready to go at any time.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah.
So don't mess with Joey.
Well, yeah, I wasn't the toughest guy, but I did have a lot of guns at the time, and,
Right.
So people knew when they saw me that I used to go. I walked into a bar once, and the whole bar just got quiet. They didn't know what I was going to do.
So the term "swimming with the fishes" that was real.
Yeah, he sleeps with the fishes. Actually, is what
Sleeps?
they say. Yeah, he sleeps with the fishes. Yeah. So well, sometimes they would kill you depending on what it is. It's all according to the offense.
Okay.
Now, I never lent anybody money that was like a degenerate gambler, or I knew that was a junkie, or somebody did drugs, because you know what happens.
No guarantee you're getting that back.
No.
Yep.
So, but I learned. I tweaked it a little bit, the wise guy life, as far as the loan sharky business goes. You know what I mean? But there's other times you just have to. Sometimes you got to go see somebody. They don't want to listen, or they don't want to take an order, and that was it. You just had to beat them pretty good.
Bada bing.
Yeah. Listen, fear in this life works. Okay.
Yes.
Now we even got even smarter. So now you say you want to go to a bar.
Okay.
And it's making, the owner there. You get some inside information, and you know that it's making $10,000 on the weekend, just for argument's sake. It could be making less, could be making more.
Okay.
Instead of going in there with a crew of guys saying, from now on, you're going to start paying me X amount of dollars, 1,000 a week, 2,000, whatever it may be. Well, now you're causing a problem. The guy, he don't want to pay you. He's not going to want to lose money. He might be scared of you. But now you don't do that. What you do is you go in there, you talk to him. I talked to you. I said, listen, I heard you're making this kind of money. I think I could help you out a little bit. But now you're going to have like a partner. So instead of $10,000 on the weekend, you're going to make 20. But I'm going to take my piece.
Mm-hmm.
Not the whole 10. You're going to make money too. Now he's more prone to go, hey, now I'm going to make more. You're going to do that for me? Let's see how it goes. So you give it a trial error, whatever, and it works. Now he's happy. But he doesn't realize he's still in bed now with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing.
He's opened that door.
Yeah, that's a hard door to shut.
So that was actually leading into my next question.
Okay.
So you said you and your family and your cousins and pretty much everyone around you was in the mafia.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so how hard is it to get out of that life? You don't. No.
Well, there's a couple of ways you can do. You can be in prison for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Obviously, you can get killed.
Right.
Or you became an informant like I was.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
How did you end up getting into that position?
So I took my first pinch in the 90s. I got arrested on weapons and extortion and that kind of thing. They actually caught me in the midst of beating this guy up on, he was 6'4". He wasn't in great shape. He was like 450 pounds, but I beat him to the ground. And I had what they call sap gloves, which is leather gloves with weights, with sand, with lead in them. So you hear the tape. I had a tape of it one time, but it got erased by accident. I tried to clear up. It was raining that day. But I gave him a good beat, and then the feds arrested me right there. And I didn't see the street till about 4 years later.
Okay, so this was in
The
1991.
90s. Right, yeah, that's right. In the 90s.
And then you went to jail for about 4 years.
Right, exactly. I got 4 years, but in the midst of that, after about the first year, I was still fighting the case, and then I had found out that my father was killed.
Oh, geez.
He died while I was over. See,
Sorry to hear about that. Yeah, of course, it's tough.
it still affects me after all these years.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I'll try to be strong for the views. But my father had to go on the lam
Okay.
because they were going to get him on a murder. My father killed about maybe 4 guys that we know of.
Okay.
But I guess the last one, they got wind of it, and so he had to run. He had to go away. So I went to the safe deposit box. I gave him $70,000 in cash, and then he went to Honduras.
Okay.
He paid the officials down there, and how I know that, I'll tell you in a few. So I said, Dad, you're okay? Why do you got to run away? He says, well, sometimes it just puts people's mind at ease. Now, here's my father, a soldier, just got straightened out by the Genovese crime family, and he's still leery about what they think. Now, see, here's a guy that killed somebody for you, and yet he's still worrying about maybe they want to kill him just to make everything go away.
Right.
So if you want to talk about, because, brotherhood, you're with us.
Right.
We're cool together. We're going to do these things together. But you could still get killed for nothing. So it's a treacherous life.
Right. I could see that.
I don't recommend it for families. Well, my father, I got wind. I called up home. My grandmother said your father died, so I had his body shipped here from Honduras back to New York. And sooner or later, the FBI called me down, and they wanted to interview me. I had no idea. I caught another case. I caught what they call a superseding indictment. I caught that case with my uncle on another collection thing that I was doing with him, loan sharking then.
So while you were already in jail, you were getting more charges.
Yes.
Okay.
That's usually what they do. They get a chance to pile up some more.
So let me go back to this. So your father, you said, was killed in Honduras.
Correct.
Was it mob related?
That's what the FBI told me.
Okay.
And I'll lead up to that. So what happened was I got called down. The marshals come and get you. So now they say, okay, and they handcuff you. You walk, and I'm walking down this hallway. I was like, this is not the route to the courthouse. So all of a sudden, 2 agents are waiting for me down. They said, okay, you got to go with them now. And I'm like, okay. So I go into a room. There's the 2 agents there was the 2 agents that met me out there. Inside the room was my attorney.
Okay.
And the AUSA, which is the assistant U.S. attorney.
Okay.
Benjamin Rosenberg was his name at the time. And you don't forget these things,
High profile.
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Goodfellas. Did you ever see Ed McDonald?
Yes.
Well, Ed McDonald and him are partners, and I'll tell you about Ed McDonald in a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah. Anyways, I asked to talk to my attorney. My attorney said, listen, he says, they called me down in the middle of the night. They says that, you got to be here today, because he's my attorney. I paid like $65,000 back then. It was a lot of money. Anyways, he says, what do you got to do, Joe? He says, listen what they got to say. You got nothing going on.
Right.
It wasn't like I was going anywhere. Anyway, I sat there with the handcuffs, everything. They said, listen, Joe, we'd like to talk to you about this and that. So at first I said, I got a word from this guy, Vic Amuso, who was the boss of the Lucchese crime family. He's doing over life. I think he got life plus 65 years, something like that. He knew that the FBI was going to come interview me. He pulled me to the side. I was in this place called MCC, which is Metropolitan Correctional Center. That's actually where John Gotti was.
Okay.
And he says, listen, they're going to call you down. He talked funny, like, because he was from Queens. He says, listen, they're going to call you down there, Joey. He says, and I want you to tell them this. I says, they are? I said, okay, what, Vicky? He goes, you tell them that I'd love to help you, but I'm not even in a position to help myself. And that's the answer I was supposed to give to the feds.
Okay.
So when they started asking me these questions, I said the same thing that he told me. And I never forgot it. Now, this is in the 90s. So I says, so I told her, I said, look, I'd love to help you, but I'm not in a position to help myself. So they started saying this life isn't no good and this is what it's going to lead to. Now they pull out a stack of photos this big. So now they put my handcuffs to the front. I'm looking through the photos. There's a cemetery where my mother's buried because my mother died before my father.
Okay.
I see the grave. I see them exhumed. They exhumed my father's body. That was the first time I saw him in a couple of years. He was dead on a slab. So that's what they showed me. And sorry.
It's all right. Take your time.
So my father was laying there with a big cut on his chest and a V shape and another line going down. And they said, this is the way your life's going to end up, the way you're going. So I said, okay. So I went back to my cell. I said, I'll think about it. And I did. They told me that wise guys went down there to kill my father. Now, is that true or not? Do I really believe it now after all these years? Because nobody ever found out who killed my father. I saw an autopsy report. Said he died of a heart attack. I heard he was supposed to try to come back into the country because his visa expired, that he was going to he needed a bypass surgery. So I don't know which one it was to this day.
So you still don't know if it was natural causes or if they sent somebody. So if that was the case, who are we talking, would have sent someone to kill your dad?
The boss of the Genovese crime family. There was a guy called, his name was Mickey Generoso.
Okay.
Mickey Generoso, I don't like him. He's dead now, but I didn't like him when he was alive either.
Mm-hmm.
He thought his stuff didn't stink. Well, I'll put it that way. And he was an arrogant bastard, if you want to say. Matter of fact, after my father passed away, I finally met him face to face. And they said, this is Joe Barone's son. And he said, oh, Joe Barone, like that, like making fun. Because my father is the guy who actually gave the order for my father to kill the guy was him. There was a guy that was living in my town. Vic Maturo, his name was. He was cooperating with the government. Well, listen, these wise guys are not dumb. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry, some of them, but these guys, that you can't fool them,
Right.
And so they got wind that he might be cooperating with the government. And so my father had to pick him up and drive him down to Brooklyn. And they had to sit down, talk to him a little bit, ask him some questions, get a feel for him, see what he's doing. And then, so my father had to drive him back home, but they gave my father the look, which is not good. So my father got the green light. And the next time they found Vic, he was hanging in his garage.
Jeez.
I actually know the other guy who went with my father to kill him. He's dead now, too. I still won't say his name, but he's dead. And he was a tough guy, too, because my father couldn't lift a guy up by himself to hang him, but they hung him in the garage. Okay? So that's the murder that my father was going to get caught on, because the government, they said it was suicide, but I found out from my handler, which his name was Vincent Bizzuti, and the FBI said we didn't believe he hung himself because he was cooperating.
Right.
Okay.
So even though you could have multiple different families within the mafia,
Yep.
Those families are actually working against each other as well?
In some ways.
Okay.
You got to remember, when you're a member of the mafia, to become a member after you kill somebody, because that's the way you really need to get in. Once you do that, you solidify the fact that you're willing to do anything for the mafia.
Okay.
The mafia comes before your own family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. If your mother is dying in the hospital and they call you, you got to leave. Now, I've always stated, okay, I can understand that to a certain degree, but why would you call me when you know my mother's dying?
Right.
Why don't you how many guys you got?
Yeah.
There's 80, 50, 60, 100, 1,000 guys. You got to call me? I'm the only guy that's able to pull a trigger?
Right.
So this is the kind of thing that I never understood. When
they want you, they want you. That's it.
You got to do exactly what they say. Yeah. Otherwise, you go.
Right.
And that's it.
So it's you or them, basically.
So I decided to cooperate with the government because I had no other means to find out who killed my father. That's my whole premise. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say jail is pleasant.
Right.
But you do your time and that's it. But I decided to go, and I did. And I started feeding them murders and stuff that I knew, where the gold was buried, so to speak, where the bodies were buried too.
All right, so let me ask you a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
So now around in the 1990s, you start cooperating with the FBI.
Correct.
At that point, were you fearful now that because you're talking that Someone's coming after you?
I'm always on the lookout.
Even today?
When I go home, I live alone.
Okay.
When I come home, I search the whole house before I go and be able to put my pajamas on. Okay, I still have PTSD being locked up in the box, which is about my second pinch. But I want to tell you, when I first came home from the 90s, I went to go see my Uncle Pat. And like I said, out of respect, I called him Uncle. He's really a cousin. He's the one who helped my father.
Okay.
I still thought I could trust him. I did love him, you know. And he said to me, he says, everything will wash ashore and you'll find out. And then I explained to him what happened to my father like I just did now. And he said, those were to hide the stab wounds. Now, why would he say that to me? Now, my uncle could have been a wise guy twice. The two people who were going to get him, propose him for membership, died. So that's why he never got made. But he was a real gangster too. Or could have been. So now I was still confused. So I figured, let me use the FBI like they're going to use me. And I did. I still kept my loan sharking business going on. I still did other things that I was doing, which I don't need to say. But at the same time, all these years, I worked for them undercover for 18 years. Nobody found out who killed my father? Really? Isn't that kind of strange? You mean tell me one guy who flipped didn't say, hey, you know, I got a guy, I know who happened to Joe Barone or what? No, nothing.
Nothing.
So that makes me think that they were lying to me. But they knew that it would trigger me to go.
Incentivize you to talk. Yep.
Exactly.
Yes.
And listen, let's face it, I wasn't really with wise guys then. I only worked for my father. I loaned my own money out. And I didn't really want to be a gangster anyway. You know what I mean? It wasn't really my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, just because I can fight doesn't mean I want to fight.
Right.
When I did martial arts, I used that as an alternative means to a conflict. I figured I was good enough at it. I could take them if I need to. I walked away from it easier that way. But, you know, sometimes I had to do what I had to do. So now I'm working with the government for 18 years, giving them murders, bodies that they didn't know who killed who, what's what. They didn't know nothing. I opened the door for a lot of stuff for them. I'm loyal to them.
Right.
I didn't make any money with them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't pay me. I wasn't on a salary. I proved that in court. Now they get me on a murder for hire charge on my second pitch in 2009.
Okay. So tell us about that.
So a friend of mine that I was my co-defendant, he wanted me to kill this guy before I got pinched. And so I did bring it to the handler. I said, listen, I don't think this guy's for real. But he said, well, you know something, Joe? See if he gives you money. If he gives you money, then we know it's for real. I'll let you introduce him to somebody else because they still wanted me in the street. I was one of the best informants, I was the longest informant in FBI history.
And that didn't scare you with being inside the mob like that? Like, oh, this guy's talking. Like, nobody found out you were talking to the cops that whole time?
I only told my best friend, who I thought was my best friend, my friend Pete. Because I told him because in case anything happened to me.
Okay.
You see, I'm not going to tell you I was tough and I wasn't scared.
Yep.
It's not true. When they used to call my captain, Dominic Cicali, he actually has a podcast, Mafia Roundtable. I also have a podcast myself if you need to know more about my story, because I know this is only so long of a show. I'm on the Goodfellows podcast on YouTube.
Goodfellows, okay.
The Goodfellow podcast. I've been doing it for about a year now.
Okay.
Anyways, this guy would call me down. Hey, listen, I got to see you in 15 minutes. Come meet me. Every time I went, I thought I was my last trip. Now, how many people that you knew that was, because hold on, I wasn't just going to get shot and killed. They're probably going to torture me.
Of course.
How many people you know that was going to go to their own death? I used to speed there to get there. Because I was so focused on trying to find out what happened to my father. And when you do this for a long time, you got to remember, whether I was alone or in public, I always had to be the man I was portraying to be. Mm-hmm. Because you can't fool these guys. I was actually, just because I see my father, guess what? I acted like my father and I was in. But I took the second pinch. So my friend wanted me to kill that guy. Of course, he never came up with the money, and I knew it was only baloney. And that's all recorded. I had a piece of paper for when I went to my trial. Because I got arrested on my second, I took a second pinch and it was for murder for hire, which is 1956 or 1955? It's a law, whatever the law was. That's what they arrested me on. I wasn't going to kill anybody. Listen, I owned $1 million home. I had $500,000 in cash in the bank, $55,000 in my safe, about $200,000 worth of jewelry. I had an Escalade, brand new, prepaid for 2 years. I was doing fine.
Right.
I was making money,
Yep.
living a dream. So what I did, the guy was like posturing for me. So what I did was I said, okay. So I sent the guy up to the guy's house to look at it over, and he came back and said it can't be done. I knew it couldn't be, but I kept that guy because he was a crony. He was one of the guys I used to make myself look good. Okay, somebody I could call if I needed it because he, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I gave him $1,000. He was, oh yeah, you know, he thinks he's with a gangster. He's all happy. But what happened was he got arrested for something, some kind of drug thing or whatever. I think he shot somebody, and so now he started informing on me.
Oh no, he turned on you.
Yep, exactly.
Jeez.
And so he set me up and wore a wire on me. Now I kept the thing going like it was going to happen, but I wasn't going to do anything. In all those years, they knew my whole background, you know. So I get arrested January 9th, 2009. Okay, and then I didn't see they let me out after about 2 weeks. I told them I'd work with them. They were with a task force called C5. They work solely with the Genovese crime family.
Okay.
And like I said before, I was with the Bonanno crime family. Well, anyways, I fought the case, whatever the case may be. I talked to them, but they were like really jerks. They didn't know how to handle me. The assistant U.S. attorney, she's on CNN News now and all that stuff. Her name is Miriam Roker. She said, just do what you were doing like when you were working with Vinny. Because Vinny, my handler, retired in this, I think, November. And 3 months later, I was arrested. Doing the same thing I was doing. I should have left when he left, but I didn't. I didn't think I can get out of that either. I didn't know.
So because you were talking to the FBI,
Mm-hmm.
Are your chances of getting out of jail better? Because you're obviously like their informant, like they need you more than you need to be in jail.
They treated me like dirt.
They did.
Lower than dirt. Okay. There was a hit out on a judge's life, a New York sitting judge.
Okay.
His name was Judge Garifas. There was also a hit on the assistant U.S. attorney, Greg Andreas.
Mm-hmm.
You might have heard about him. He actually was with these other guys that wanted to prosecute Trump back in those days. Anyway, I knew who was going to kill the judge. I knew all of it. So I alerted that to him. So when I was arrested and I'm sitting in this place and the FBI agent that's there, Mike Gator, I said, listen, I saved the judge's life. That doesn't mean anything to you?
Right.
Guess what he said?
No.
Just like that, shook his head at me like that. I could have got killed for what I did. Okay, and it's over. I'm dead. That's it.
Right.
If anybody's out there that cared about me, they mourn a little bit, then they go back on with their lives. But the FBI ruined my whole entire life. They did not just throw me to the jungle. They didn't throw me to the wolves. They threw me to the whole jungle. Outed me as a snitch. Okay, and well, look, I got proof. Willie Boy Johnson was a boyhood friend of John Gotti. Of course, everybody knows who John Gotti is. I mean, right?
Right.
Talk to the viewers. Everybody knows who John Gotti is. They don't know who Joe Barone is, but they know John Gotti. Well, this guy, Willie Boy, got arrested for drugs or whatever, and he agreed to give information about John, but he said, I'll never testify against him. Well, they said, yeah, sure. They got all the information, all this good stuff on him, right? Sure enough, now they said, we want you to take the stand against him. He says, no. They had him arrested, and they outed him as a snitch. So now he's in the prison with John Gotti. Yeah. So now John, Sam, and everybody talk to him, and they're like, what happened? You know, you grew up with me and everything. You understand? Well, then, of course, they find Willie Boy Johnson shot and killed later on. They actually put a hit on him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the assistant U.S. attorney, the government, you know, the good guys. It was almost like a murder for hire there. But yet they want to arrest me for a murder that was never going to happen either.
Right. So how did you end up in Myrtle Beach now?
Well, I went broke.
Okay.
Okay. I had a $20 million lawsuit against the federal government and for outing me because everybody might say 20 million. Well, what's your life worth? Can I tell you that your life's worth 20 million, 100 million? No. How about I tell you this? Hey, Maria, let me give you $100 million, but tomorrow you got to die. You're like, keep the money,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it might help you if you have family, kids, whatever. I don't know. But what good
What's
is it
more
if
valuable if you're not here?
you can't enjoy it?
Exactly.
So I said, $20 million, I think, is spot on. So we went, and of course, there's a thing called summary judgment. Of course, the judges shot me down. Why? Because on this murder case that I was on, that I was telling you, I took the stand. You know, my lawyer told me to do when I got up the stand. He said, just talk to them like you're talking to them in your living room. Okay, because I didn't have the license. Nobody knows your story. He didn't say, if the prosecutor says this, what do you say? If the guy says this, if the guy, I didn't get prepped. I just told my story. And the jury, who actually, one of the jurors, she was related to an FBI agent. I was found not guilty. The only thing they couldn't find me guilty was because it's very confusing for most people, and if people don't really know it out there, it's the conspiracy law. You ever see always arrested for conspiracy? Conspiracy is against the law. It's illegal.
Right.
I can't tell you what you're thinking. You know what I'm thinking right now?
Nope, not at all.
There you go. But this is what they get you on, because it's a Trump. You go to Vegas, you go to Atlantic City, it's all rigged. Once in a blue moon, a guy hits the jackpot, and they go like, "What happened? You crazy?" But that's what happens in my case. I won my trial. I also won. I'm in the law books with Joe Barone and Jose Muniz. I'm in the Fourth Amendment. We won the Fourth Amendment on illegal search and seizure. Unheard of in the federal system. Unheard of. We won that. Okay. And so I got married when I came home. The girl who actually my fiance at that time, she's the one who got my attorney for me, because I went through 2 attorneys. Both of them robbed me. One robbed me of over $90,000, and the other one robbed me of $45,000
for nothing.
Yep.
Crazy.
So I said, okay, well, I'm fighting the case. I got out of another show where I was living, and I came down. Her family was here, and so I came down here, and I've been here for 16 years.
Wow. So you're like a native now.
Yeah, but you could tell my accent changed, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, my friends told me, they said, if you ever call here and say, how you all doing, they're going to come back and get me. but you know what it is? It's kind of funny, though. It's like somebody says, you know, like you asked me, you're not scared or whatever? Well, I think I could see a gangster in this kind of area even more better than I could if I was in New York.
Yeah.
Because New York, you know, it's different.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fast-paced life. Over here, you got some guy with, you know, and I'm not making fun of anybody. They got hair on their face. They got the beards. They got hats that says cat on it. I could tell if the guy's going to be a hitman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not so much I'm even worried about them. I'm always worried about the cowboy, the lone wolf guy, the one who wants to make a name for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, I'm not allowed to carry a weapon. And so, you know.
You're not allowed to carry a weapon.
Because I'm an ex-felon. And believe me, I'd love to be able to get a full carry. I mean, especially now down here, you don't even need it anymore.
Right.
You know. But I still think that anybody who would come is still taking a chance. I'll just leave it at that.
So you think, I mean, given the turnovers of families and informants and all of that, I mean, it's still pretty prevalent up there, like what's going on. And
you know, it has changed a lot. Look, when I was into life, okay, you're talking about if I knew somebody was a guy like me and I saw him, he's got to get it. Either I'm going to shoot him, kill him, beat him up, something. You're not allowed to. But now they walk around. Some of them, they say that they walk around, and the guys don't want to get in trouble. They actually do business with them sometimes still. You know, you ever see the movie The 300 with Gerard Butler? Gerard, you know, was the 300. There was a history about the Greeks.
yes.
Those people died for what they believed in. Then the next generation didn't.
Yep.
You see, everything sort of gets watered down in life. You know, some people get older. Like I'm not like 20 years old anymore, so I try not to fly off the handle like I used to.
Right.
You know, because things change. Sometimes for the better, but not always. And, you know, there's no loyalty. Like, you know, we're together, we're brothers, and all of this nonsense. That's not true. They're out for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I didn't have money when I went away, I think I had one friend that sent me money in my commissary. The rest of the money was mine. Okay? So, you know, you're forgotten about when you go away.
Yeah.
All the loyalty you showed out in the street, all the things you did for them. It's almost like this. If I do 1,000 favors for you, oh, Joe, can you help me with this? Joe, can you help me with that? Yeah, no problem. And I do. The one time I can't do it, that son of a gun, man, he's no good. Would you believe he left me here like that? The other things don't count?
Yeah. Or when you need something, it's impossible to get. Yeah.
I'm going to prove it to you.
Yep.
Tell people you're going to move. Can you give me a hand? Watch. Oh, I'm working that day. Oh, no. Oh, no. This. Watch. That's the most telltale of anything.
Well, who likes moving, though? It's the worst.
Nobody. And not even your friends don't even want to move. You ain't even got to move.
You know what? I got a solution for you.
Okay.
Call the movers.
Yeah, that's the way I've done it.
That's it.
You know something? I know they're going to be there. I'm paying them, and that's
exactly.
it.
And you don't need to depend on anybody else.
That's why I don't recommend. So, Joe, you know anybody that does sheetrock? You know anybody that does tile work? You know anybody that does? I said, nah, I don't know. You don't know anybody? You're doing all these things. You don't know? I said, no, because the minute I recommend him, and I know he's good for me, something happens with you and him, I'm no good.
Exactly. You got to tell him, just Google it.
Yeah, Google knows everything, right?
Exactly. Go to Google.
Yeah.
All right. So while you were in jail, you're also talking to the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't scare you that at any given moment you could be...
Yeah, was always on my mind. I'm always going to be scared. But, it's like anything else. When you get in your car, do you think you're going to get into an accident?
No.
No. You think somebody's going to run into you, hit you? No. You just drive.
Right.
So you're kind of like programmed. But the only difference for me is I still go to my car. I look around. I go up the stairs. I look around. I go into my apartment. I look around. I don't frequent places where there's a lot of people. It makes me nervous. Even when I walk in the mall, it's just things are going fast for me, And I still have PTSD. It's not like I've managed it a little bit better. Don't get me wrong. But when I first moved down here, I didn't leave the house for 5 years. I didn't leave the room. I started getting out by cutting the grass. I lived with my in-laws at that time. Of course, I got divorced in 2016 because I wasn't the same guy that she knew when I went away. But, so I slowly tried to get out of my, whatever you want to call it, slump or whatever it is. Of course, I've been seeing therapists. When I first came home, I seen a psychiatrist. He prescribed Klonopin. I was on Klonopin for 6 months or whatever. Then I said, I don't want to take pills anymore. But I wouldn't leave the room. I was sitting in the dark. I was in the hole when I got arrested on my the second charge, the murder for hire charge. I was locked up in solitary confinement for 15 months.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does something to you.
I didn't know that. When they said I had PTSD, I thought that was for soldiers.
Right.
For people who was in the military. I didn't know it was like I didn't know. But I tried. I didn't know what I was even doing in there. The guys were laughing at me in there because they said once a month they come, they knock on the door, and it was a glass between the thing, and on the outside of the door they can shut it so they don't want they don't want you to see anything going on. So they said, hey, because my inmate number was 808-60054. That's it's like a social security number now, so I can remember that. So they would say, "You all right there, Barone?" And I started singing, "You're gonna make me lose my mind up in here," and I started doing that, and everybody on the whole block was laughing.
Yeah.
But I thought I didn't know I was cracking up. I almost died in there. I went to the hospital. My heart was skipping beats.
Jeez.
I didn't realize they had me in the hospital for like 3 days.
Even in jail.
Even in prison. Yep. I mean, it's crazy. So I did 19 months on my second bid. There's a guy, Joe Waverly. He's a wise guy too. So when I took what they call a public authority case, what they did was how they put me in the paper was they said that I was cooperating against my co-defendant, which I wasn't. But that's what they used for the prison, the BOP, to put me in the hole for my protection.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost all my rights. You only get one phone call for 15 minutes a month.
Oh my God.
You don't get the same kind of commissary that you get in general population.
Yep.
General population. Yep. GP. Okay. So there I was in the hole. Okay. I got staph infection, MRSA staph. I almost died.
Oh God.
And but this is the FBI because I was a good guy. They're the good guys. I was doing so many.
They're helping you.
Yeah. They're protecting me.
So if you decided not to help the FBI, be an informant, how do you think your life would have turned out?
A lot better.
You think so?
Completely.
You regret that?
Of course. I was riding high. Like I told you what I had. There was only a few things I had. I had a lot of things going on. I actually was supposed to. I missed the the window to be a postman.
Okay.
But I was going to work for the sanitation department in my town. Now,
Okay.
I don't care who knows it now, but I was supposed to give $20,000 to get that job. It's a $90,000 a year pay job.
Wow.
So I had money in the bank, $1 million home. Okay, even though I owned it with the girl I was dating with, then we were going to sell it, and I was still going to live in my town, but I was going to just move, which is okay. I would have probably put about another 120,000 in my pocket because I had somebody who was going to buy it. Okay, and she would have put the same amount in her pocket too, or she was going to sell it to me. Either way, I could have still bought it and put the mortgage out on me, but I didn't. Maybe I would have did it either which way, but I would have definitely had the job. I would have worked till here I am. I'm 64 years old now. I would have worked till I was 65, another year.
Yep.
I was 43, I think, or 40 something years old when I would have got the job. So
pension, the whole
everything.
nine. Yeah.
And one of my friends works there still to this day. I was going to make him my right-hand man. So now if I had to still do things that I wanted to do, I didn't even have to be with the wise guys anymore.
Yep.
But I always could make a phone call. I always had a connection,
Yeah.
which was good. And let me tell you something. When I was a kid, I was at a party, a friend of mine and me was at a party. It's a girl's house. And so there was a few guys from out of the neighborhood, and we were going to have a problem with them. So we're ready to go. But my friend said, Joe, maybe you should call. I said, nah, I don't want to do that. He said, make the call. There's too many of them. I said, okay. So I called up this bar that my friends would hang out. And I said, hey, hello, is Joe Colangelo there? Who? Because it's loud. Hey, Joe Colangelo. Yeah, he's here. I said, can you put him on the phone? He gets on the phone. I said, Joe, how you doing? Hey, Joe Barone, come on over. We're having a good time. I said, Joe, I got a problem. He goes, where are you? I says, I'm over here at this place. I said, I think it's Parkhead Avenue. He says, by the high school? I says, yeah. He says, we'll be right there. I had 2 carloads of guys come. One had a Viking axe, those ones that you see on the wall, the decoration.
Oh, my God.
He came out of the car with that. The other one had baseball bats. So now the girl at the party said, listen, this kid's somebody. He made a call. You better get out of here.
Yeah.
And they left. So they said to me, I said, the guys left. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to call. You know, we had cell phones back then.
Right,
and they
right,
already
right.
left the bar. I couldn't do anything. I had there was 10 guys that came for me, like that. And they said, Joe, better be safe than sorry. So then, of course, I went to the bar with them later again.
Yeah.
Bought everybody a drink. But that's the power you got.
Mm-hmm.
And that really does feel good. You know, now, did they really like me so much to in order to come? Nah, most of them really like to fight. And listen, I was fighting my friends sometimes. My friend would come out of the house and we start fighting for no reason. That's the kind of life I grew up with. You know, we were always looking to do something, you know.
You stay outside till the streetlights. Come on. Yeah. Totally different today.
Oh.
Totally different generation. Yeah.
You know, there's some ways that the generation is more smarter, like with computers and Bitcoin and all these things going on. My friend tries to explain Bitcoin to me. I go, really? Yeah, wow. And he turns around. I go, what the hell are you talking about? I still can't get it.
Yeah.
But I'm old-fashioned like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a little old-fashioned.
Absolutely.
You know, it worked. Worked for my generation, worked for mine, you know.
I grew up in a very Italian household as well.
Okay.
Both sides Italian, so.
What nationality? Sicilian, Calabrese?
Sicilian and Roman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Sicilian and Calabrese.
But
So you
morals, family, the food, tradition. I mean, it's so, you know, that's what you grow up knowing, learning, passing down.
I still cook to this day.
Yep. Oh, yeah. If
Listen.
you're an Italian woman and you don't cook, like.
We don't even want to talk to you.
Exactly.
You know, the whole thing is like, you know, a lot of Italian girls, obviously I've met a lot of Italian girls. What a surprise, right? They used to complain, my father's strict. They wanted me in the house. I said, I understand where you're coming from. You're not missing anything out there. There's no benefit to all of that.
Yeah.
What are you getting?
Mm-hmm.
So your father was trying to do, and your family's trying to show you values, something that you can pass down so that you can keep the legacy going.
Tradition, yeah.
Everybody else is trying to believe out the thing. Everybody, let's just go, let's order DoorDash. DoorDash? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Look, my mother and grandmother used to get up early in the morning to make the sauce, the meatballs. We used to have homemade macaroni and everything.
Everything, yeah.
Come on. You know.
The garden with the fresh tomatoes and cucumbers.
Basil,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
You miss that. And unfortunately, as you get older, this is what happens. You know, some of my friends have died, some natural causes, some unnatural. but it's still lonely though. You know what I mean? So I'm sort of alone. You know,
Yeah.
sort of alone. I got a girlfriend, and now we're talking. We're getting together. And she's singing too. So
Nice.
she met me here. So I said to her like this when she met me at the boathouse.
Yep. Yep.
She was actually supposed to meet my friend. And so, but she took one look at me and my friend was out and I was in. So she says, so I says to her like this, I says, you mean to tell me you came all the way down here to meet me, the last of the Guidos? I said, this is wonderful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was like that kind of thing, you know, fooling around with her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how many people now from the city, Jersey, New York, Connecticut, everyone is coming down here.
It's the second Florida, they call it. And
Yeah.
what happens is, look, my taxes were $23,500 a year. Why would I? For what? What are you doing for me over there for $23,000?
Yep.
I had $1 million home. What are you doing for me for all this money?
Crazy.
Then the
Yep.
sanitation department were charging $80 extra. So it's they charged an extra $40 a month for each house. Do you know how many houses were in my town? Guess who? They said, well, if you got a problem with it, you want to dispute it or whatever, or maybe we'll change it or not implicate the law at all, come to the city hall and we'll discuss it. You know how many people went? Not one. Everybody just pays it. Just like when the gas was going up.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? We got to get gas.
Yeah.
There's no unity. When
Yeah.
I was in prison, we had a food strike. So, of course, they put it in the paper. It was very short-lived, you know, to make themselves look good. Well, you met our demands. We were getting soup. There's little styrofoam soup in the county prison because I did a year in the county, too, on my first bid. It was cold. All we asked them to do was heat it up.
It's not gazpacho.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, Maria, that's all we asked for. So, sure enough, they met our demands. So, we stopped. We went back to eating. So, that's how it goes. You have to sometimes. I've seen so many people in my life, and I was talking to a prior to you before you came here, and I said, you know, it's funny when you talk to somebody face to face, it's a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I called up this guy. He was a tile guy, a friend of mine, and I scheduled I was like the GC on my own construction job, and so he kept. Wouldn't answer the phone. He was supposed to come that day. I lined up everybody. I went to his house at 10:30 at night. I knocked on the door. He come running out. Hey, Joe. It got nasty for a second. So I ran back up the stairs. I says, hey, George, you remember who you're talking to? He goes, I'm sorry, Joe.
Say.
I had to hit a friend of mine. I ate at his house for dinner and everything. But he was doing steroids. And I think it's true about that roid rage, they call
Yeah.
it. He was big, you know, strong. And he got nasty. I said, Anthony, you're not serious, are you, with me? He goes, hey, don't mess with me, Joe. Boom, I hit him. He went like this. He got a little wobbly. Now, I didn't beat him up because I liked him.
Yeah.
But I had to wake him up. And then he grabbed me for a second. I grabbed him, and they broke it up and everything. And then he apologized. He says, I'm sorry, Joe. Okay, so any of you, if you want to start asking some more questions, I know you probably have a lot. You got paperwork in front of you. I mean,
This
anything
is
else
just
you might want to know?
Yeah, your
My indictment
paperwork.
on the second one?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think, I think you covered pretty much everything. You know, you gave your background and
I try.
Yeah. It
I
was
try.
good. It was good, like real life information that you don't connect because how many people actually talk?
Well, that's the thing. I can tell you stories and you think, oh my God. Meanwhile, that was normal life.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I say things and people are like, well, what does that mean? Who's that? What? And that's the problem. Like, even to talk to regular people. I remember when I first was out in the dating world. And so, you know, try to reinvent yourself. How do I talk to somebody? So what did you do for a living?
Right.
You know, you don't want to lie, even though I could.
Yeah.
But even when I told them I was a financial adjuster, they were like, you know, so I tried to come up with some different things. I actually watched The Tulsa King. I'll tell you about the life. I don't know if you ever saw The Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. Well, The Tulsa King is really good. I love Sylvester Stallone anyway. But I knew one of his bodyguards, his best friend, Chuck Zito from the Hells Angels. Of course, he don't talk to me either. But The Tulsa King, he comes home after doing 25 years in prison for them. So he comes home, they give him a ride. Brings him to this mansion in Long Island.
Yeah.
You know Long Island.
Oh yeah.
So he goes in there and he sits down. First, they have the two guys behind him. He's like, you guys mind going over there? You know, I don't want somebody standing behind me. He's still worried after doing 25 years with these guys for them to keep them out of prison. They said, listen, you know, we can't put you back in the kind of same thing that you left. I know you thought you were going to come into the life again and everything. He says, but, you know, things have gone not as good as, you know, things aren't going so well. He looked around the house, goes, really? They're living in a mansion. They're telling me he can't do it. So they sent him to Oklahoma.
Oh my God.
Now, this is a captain who kept his mouth shut for them. Later on, he finds out they tried to have him killed in prison because they didn't think he'd do the time. Meanwhile, he was doing it. That's loyalty, isn't it?
Yep.
See, to me, Maria, loyalty's a two-way street.
Yes, 100%.
And so even though I did what I did and I don't still think it's right, what do I owe you?
Mm-hmm.
You did this to me and my father, and you want me to be loyal to you.
Right.
If that was the real case.
Yep.
And that's the way I believed it, and that's the reason why I did it. I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying, please forgive me and all of that stuff. No, I did what I did.
Yep.
But there's some guys out there going, I would never do this. I would never. Yeah, okay, buddy. Yeah, I know. I equate that to like in the boxing ring. Guy goes, so what are you going to do there, so-and-so? Oh, the first round, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. Then all of a sudden, the guy gets punched and the whole game is off and they start fighting like warriors in there.
Yeah.
You know, the only time I know what I'm going to do in a real fight is before the first punch is thrown. Because usually I'm the guy that will throw first. I call it a preemptive strike. They call it a sucker punch or whatever. But no, it's a preemptive strike. I don't know who this guy is. He might be 10 times tougher than me. And if I hit him and he don't go down right away, I'll run. I don't care.
You're going to learn today.
That's it. Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right, Joey. Well, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Talking and giving us your background and how you got here where you are today. But before we say goodbye, let's get your best forget about it.
Hey, forget about it.
Oh, perfect.
And don't forget, check me out on the Goodfellow podcast if you want more of my backstory and some of the fights I had and stuff like that. Appreciate it.
The tea.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yep.
All the tea.
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to Asking Axelrod, and we will catch you on the next one.